Hi everyone, it's Linnea for LDRS Creative, and I'm showing off the Flower Doodles stamps, dies, and layering stencils from the new November 2022 collection. This is just like all of the other stamp, stencil, and die trios, where you have a 4x6 stamp set. There's a couple of sentiments, but the really special thing is this large stamp. This is about 4 by 4 inches, and it has all of these florals that you're going to stamp once, and then you can grab your layering stencils and use just a few colors of ink to quickly and easily add color to those images. And then the dies not only cut out the sentiments along with a shadow, but you also have one single die that's going to cut out all of those images individually. I'll show you that in just a bit. I'm going to go ahead and start stenciling. The great thing about LDRS Creative Layering Stencils is that there are layering guides, and they are etched right into the stencil, and I'll show you that in a moment. I still prefer to use a corner just so that it kind of takes the guesswork out of everything. I don't have to worry about lining anything up, but if you wanted to stencil these images into the center of a panel, you could definitely do that because there are those etched lines, and so it makes everything easy to line up, makes it perfectly easy to see where you're going to be adding your ink. I started off with a couple of pinky red colors. I used LDRS Creative Lipstick Jungle and Kiss Me Red. Here I did just a bit of selective masking on the 2B layer so that I can add some dandelion into the center of these flowers. Then I'll move around that tape, and my first color of green is going to be Olive Branch. And I'm just using a light hand, just kind of getting into all of those little nooks and crannies on the stems. And then I'll move on to the last stencil, and I will be using 4 leaf on that. So I used 2 pinks, 2 greens, and then yellow for the centers. But if you don't have a lot of ink, you can layer these inks, especially if you're using these hybrid inks. They layer really nicely. So you really just need one color for the flowers, put the first layer down, and then when you layer the second stencil on top, that darker area is going to show up. Here are all of those images all stenciled. Now usually I would stamp and then stencil, but I wanted to show you that you don't have to use the stamp. If you don't want to add an outline, you don't have to. You can get a lovely no color look or no line color look by just using the stencils and then cutting these out. But I went ahead, it was pretty easy just to use a stamping platform and line up that stamp, the Flower Doodle stamp, and just stamp right over top. And then I used the die, so just like how you use one stamp for all of these flowers, you use one die, but they all cut out individually. So you're going to get 6 pieces. There's the 5 little flowers and buds, and then the little, the greenery piece. Here's a couple of other new items. This one is the double stitched scalloped square dies. There's 2 dies, that outer scalloped frame, and then there's a stitch die. And then there are also the square phrase insert dies. These can be used separately or together. I'm going to be using them together on my card. I'm kind of going to create an inlaid window. So I used that smaller stitched square from the double stitched scallop square dies, and I cut a portion of an A2 card panel out. Then I created a frame by using that outer scalloped die, and I laid one of those square phrase insert dies right into that, and that's going to cut out a little bit of a frame, and I'm still going to get that square sentiment. I popped up my frame, and I also popped up a white panel on top of a card base. And then I'm going to inlay that Love You, and that's from the square phrase insert dies. I'm going to lay that inside, so it's kind of laid back and inset into the card, and then the frame is popped up in front. I cut it out of black so that it would really show up against the card base, and then I took those images from the Flower Doodles stamps, stencils, and dies, and I layered them all over. That's it. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of the new products from the November 2022 collection. Remember to check out our YouTube channel and the LDRS Creative Inspiration blog for more inspiration. Thanks for watching. Bye!